Good morning. Good morning, friends and families. I'm Dr. Small, Executive Director of A Stronger Foundation, also playing the part of the Academic Architect PDO. What that means is planner, designer, and overseer of the academic success plan for kids. And so this morning I'm back and we're back into the lab. And after we did the introduction of the lab, I told you that I did 2 years in science studies. And so that is why I have some information about how the brain works and how it impacts education. But that's about where I draw the line, not a scientist. And so the information I give you is accurate and correct. But again, not trying to be a scientist, just want to explain to you how the brain impacts how children learn so that we can begin to, blame the right sources instead of just saying, oh, it's the school, it's the teacher, something's wrong with the curriculum. We can really have real, I should say better sources that's contributing to academic performance and determining our long-term success and survival. So I wanted to add that after science studies, I continued my education at Southeastern University, and that's where I got my doctorate degree. And so basically what you hear is just a consolidation of everything that I've done, everything I've learned. And as an educator, a lot of educators are well versed in this area as well. So today I want to talk about a topic. And remember also, what we do here is highly unscripted, okay? Because when you get to know me, you'll realize I'm the type of person that just likes it to be perfect. I don't like to make errors. I don't like mistakes. But then I realize if I cater to that side of me, I would never get one video done. I would never get one episode done. So you have me here with mistakes and errors and all. Okay, so today, our topic today is going to focus on how the brain, actually, I want to ask the question, do you want to succeed? Okay, do you want to succeed? That's what I'm asking us today. And usually when I talk about this topic and when I ask, do you want to succeed? Because remember, I work with a lot of parents and families, and I ask them, when they bring their children in and they say that they want, to get tutoring, they usually want isolated tutoring, which is like they want to pay for 3 sessions and they want to fix everything. They want to transfer a gap foundation to look like a nice solid foundation. That's not going to happen in 3 sessions. I explained to them that's going to require an investment. And that's what I love about this opportunity, is that it gets you to realize it's not a stronger foundation trying to get money out of people. We're really trying to teach and educate you how success will happen. So when I meet families and I start off, I said, do you want to succeed? Do you, and then I ask them, what does success look like to you? Right? And they'll say, rich. When you succeed, you're rich. People attribute success to being rich. So then I ask them, when you think of your child being successful, what do you see? They say they have a nice car, they live in a beautiful home, in a nice neighborhood, they can afford what they need to survive. All right. And a lot of people have a similar definition of success. And a lot of times for them, it means you're rich, you have a lot of money. But, for me, I have my personal definition of success also, or description of success. And I attribute success to feeling whole. I contributed to finding your purpose. To me, if you haven't found your purpose, you cannot claim that you're successful. You may have a great career, you may have a great job, maybe you went through all the right steps according to society's rules. So after high school, you went to college, you got a great career, you're making more than 120,000 a year. So for you, that might mean success. But are you fulfilled? Does your life have meaning? You see, I get to meet a lot of people in different levels of life, different places. I sit at the same table with other doctors and leaders and CEOs. I get to interact with them. And one thing I realized that a lot of times you may be a CEO, you maybe have a lot of power behind your name, but they still go home too, just like anyone else. And they have to face their, I don't like to call them demons, but I like, they like to face, they have to face their other version, the other self. Because see, there's two versions of all of us. You have a version that wants to achieve greatness, that we talked about in other sessions. And then you have the other version that's almost contented being mediocre, right? This one is lethargic. This is the one that's going to press the snooze button over and over and over again, okay? It's the easy alternative being this guy here, okay? They can't reach the highest fruits on their tree. And so they struggle with feelings of incompleteness. And these are the type of people that's always blaming others, blaming someone else. I didn't get that promotion because of, you know, I don't even want to go there this early, but, we blame different sources of, the experience that we have in life, and we don't achieve the greatness that we want. We don't get to access the highest parts of our fruit tree, or our life tree, we call it, right, in this lab. And so we like to blame. So where am I? I was saying that, what was I saying? I was saying that, in life, success, when the CEO goes home and you don't see them, all you see is the all powerful person walking all day long, hello, Mr., hello, Dr. Such and such, hello, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. But when they go home, no matter how much money they're making, and no matter what their lifestyle is, if they can afford everything, they still have to go home and face themselves, and everybody goes through this. Like, so at some point you start to think, did I achieve what I was supposed to achieve? Have I completed my mission? Did I align with my purpose? And, I refer to that as like a glass ceiling. When you start to look up, when you're alone, remember, I'm talking about no one else around, no one there to impress, just you and yourself. All right. Me, myself, and I. That, we have to talk to ourselves. Now we start to talk to ourselves. Where are we? We were rich. We have the perfect family. We can go on vacation anywhere. But do we have peace? Do we have that fulfillment, knowing that we did align with our purpose? And if you didn't, that same rich, powerful person, they become just like a kid all over again. They're lost. They're unhappy. Don't you see a lot of wealthy people who are just miserable? Barely makes sense that they could have so much money, so much going for them, but they're still bitter, and they're still angry, and they're still just, I think I said miserable. They are. And that's because unless you align with your best self, with the person you were intended to be, if you don't align with that person, you don't have real joy. You don't have real contentment. Your life is still searching for yourself. It's crazy, right? And as we continue through the labs, we're always going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about aligning with yourself. Because there's two versions. You have a lethargic version. And then you have a disciplined version. And that's where we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a lot about that today. All right. So yeah, everybody wants their children to succeed. So today we're going to talk about the realistic things we need to do to help to make that happen. Remember, success is not just about getting a great job and then still being incomplete and miserable. Okay. You see a lot of people, they grow up and after they get to a certain age and they're like, this is not my life. And that's why they run. I mean, you could even use that to explain what happens with people that divorce. So much divorce. Why? Because you get to a phase in your life when you realize it's just not me. I'm living, but it's like there's a tearing away. It's like you got to go and find yourself. So I call it dead man walking too, because see, now let's imagine you're in a relationship and married. And this is you. Okay, remember you have two versions. You got two versions. So then a part of you keep going, and then after a while, you got perfect kids, perfect wife, she's got everything going on, or the husband's perfect, everything's great, but something is missing. Let's say you became a doctor, and a doctor's a great career. You're making so much money, and for a while, you were so happy. It was perfect. Then, some point in your life, you start to feel divided. Like you could feel a separation of yourself. Okay. And then you're still in your relationship, but your mind start to go that way. So you have your body here, dead man walking. Your body is walking and you're still there, but then a part of you start to veer away, starts to go searching for completeness because there is some inconsistencies in yourself and you feel divided. So yeah, this side usually leave, and that's when in a marriage you realize you're here, but you're not, right? So they just go through the motion, but then the spouse begins to feel that tearing away, and after a while, because you can't come back. You see, the thing is, it's not like a choice. It's not like you're choosing to be divided. You can't just come back because there's something that pulls you. It's pulling you away. All right, so I can go on, but let's bring it back. I already told you we have plenty of conversations we're going to have in this lab. But let's bring it back down to children. Okay, how does all of this impact children? We're already at divorce and marriage. Well, you have to understand. You see, the person that went through the motions and by societal principles, they did everything perfectly. They graduated high school. And at the Great Divide, they made the right detour, whatever. They went towards greatness, right? And then, because they did, according to what we talk about here in the lab, they did get to their life tree. They got to the best part of their life tree. Let's get you to see up there. They ended up on the right side, success side, according to society. And they have access. Look at the roads that they built. They took the time. And remember, not an artist. So these are supposed to be roads if you can't see that they're roads. So they have multiple options. They have this lower road right here, but then they have other access and options, higher roads that allow them, because if they're standing here, imagine the person standing here on the higher road right here, because I have the guy right here, but I didn't put him right here yet, or her. And so just being higher, of course you can reach higher on the tree. I mean, think about it. Of course you can reach higher. All right. If you don't understand some of the concepts I'm talking about, that's because you maybe need to go back and review the first 8 overview videos that was created, because some of the terms that I use is because they were developed in those 8 overview videos. So go back and watch them. And I'm going to use a lot of scientific terms, science-based terms, and that's how you're going to be able to keep up and understand what I'm talking about. And so, yeah, so the guy, they might be right there. There's something's missing because then they're still, again, here we go. They start to veer away. It's almost like they start to look back at themselves. They're like, why can't I? What's happening with me? You know, the wife or the spouse is also wondering, what's happening with you? Well, why are you suddenly changing? Why are you, you're here, but you're not. You're here, but you're not engaging. You're here, but it's like you can't hear anything. like deer in headlights. Your body's here, but your mind is gone. And that's because that's how it is in life. You have to chase your purpose. You have to. Okay. You have to, because you'll never be contented. All right. We'll talk maybe in another video about people that just decide, look, I forget that call. It's a natural attraction, affinity towards aligning back with the purpose you were created. What mission why are you here? Why were you born? Why are you alive? There's a reason. There's a reason. And your creator, right, begins to call to you, and you have to start to go. Okay. Usually, of course, in a relationship, that's not clearly understood. So eventually the other spouse is like, look, I guess it's over. And we divorce, right? And then, enough on that. Because again, I can go on, but I want to stay where we are. All right. So when you have a child, okay, how do they succeed? They succeed by getting a balance with mindset and education, okay, so that then they can get to the stage where they're going to innovate. Problem that we have is that we take too long to innovate in our life. We start to innovate as adults because we spend all this time focusing exclusively on education, right? Remember, the whole childhood is set apart or set aside for school. Okay, they start in daycare centers. We start to teach them A, B, C, D, and my goodness, it takes up to 12th grade to educate the child. But the thing is, by the time the child gets to 12th grade, they're 18 years old. They are adults. How are you going to train an adult? How are you going to teach an adult? You can't change an adult's habits. Well, it's not easy to do, right? In fact, you can't do it. They have to do it themselves, right? So a lot of times we're spending, the whole childhood is spent educating the child, right? Up to grade 12, they're 18 years old, they graduate, and education is poor as it is. I'm not saying the education system is poor. I know everyone's jumping on that bandwagon because maybe it gets a lot of views. Okay. Yeah. You want a lot of views? Just hamper on the teachers are bad. We have teachers that don't belong to be, they shouldn't be teachers. They don't know what they're doing. The curriculum is horrible. It doesn't talk about our culture. So the curriculum is no good. And that's why our kids are failing. And it talks about, it's because the parents aren't involved. It's because of the district. It's because of who's sitting on the school board. It's because of what's going on up there in Washington or up there in Congress. It's because of the leaders and the political. So we could all day long blame everything. And you get a lot of views when you just hamper on. I see podcasters has a lot of views because all they focus on is the problems in education. And I could do that too. But while I'm focusing on the problems in education, I have to ignore the solutions. Okay. And ignoring the solutions is an unethical situation because you have a lot of children that's failing, not just in school. They're failing to be ready to live life in the real world. And that's unethical when we're not focusing on how do we fix what's wrong. We need them to succeed. We're not talking about just having a fancy car and enough money and then you're unhappy and you're unfulfilled. That's unethical. Because, a lot of us, we're adults and we know, because a lot of us are not aligned with our purpose. 98%. That's not my data. Okay. When you align with your purpose, you're living your best life. Best life again don't means just because you have rich stuff, things that make you rich. You have parties, you have friends come over, look at this big swimming pool, everyone's good. I'm talking about the peace, fulfillment, and you know that you have meaning in your life. So in order for our kids to succeed, I have some points that I want to talk about today. All right. We want to talk about the fact that if you really want to succeed, you want your child to succeed, first thing you got to do is you got to stop waiting. Stop waiting for them to get to the developmental stage. Remember, we talk about the developmental stage. Stop waiting for them to get to this stage where you can no longer reach your child. You know that when they get to the adolescent state, they're just angry all the time. And there's a reason for that, which we'll get into. That deals with the limbic system, what's going on with the discrepancy between the frontal lobe and the limbic system, okay? Will versus disciplined self versus the lethargic self, because there's this constant fight. We'll get into it. Don't you even worry. But we're waiting too long is the biggest reason for failure, is waiting too long to wake up. I'm telling you right now, there's no real reason why our people remain in the lowest economic bracket. There's no, I can't say not real reason. I should say there's no practical, there's no truth to it why they stay in the lowest bracket. There's no truth to that source, okay? Blaming it on skin, blaming it on race, blaming it on what happened years ago, okay? Now, all of those they're fine. We could blame things, but instead of just blaming, let's also incorporate a different action, an additional action. Now, I understand that some people are set in their ways and they want to feel like they want to hold on to that blame game. And that's why we can't thrive, is because the man won't let us. Listen, slavery is over. It's over. Okay? Now, we won't get rid of our memories. You have a right to hold on to the memories. The academic architect show, when she digs into it, she says, instead of letting that anger and pain hold you back and cause you to sit down and say, well, child, no matter what we do, we're always going to be down at the bottom because the people won't let us get up. Come on, that's not so. That's not so. All right. So I'm going to quickly move because I know the video is getting long. People have things to do. So we said, why don't we stop complaining or share the complaint, please? Like, instead of just saying, it's because of this, that, teachers, the schools, my skin tone, unfairness in the workplace. Instead of just saying that, why don't we decide now, instead of just complaining, that we're going to start training. So I'm not asking you to give up your complaining. I'm not asking you to stop saying it's because of the skin tone. I'm not going to do that because I know people will get angry if you say stop. So while you're saying it's because of the skin tone, can we also start to train? So pause or share complaining and start training. Because at first I had on my notes, stop complaining and start training. And I said, okay, no, because some people need to hold on to that for whatever reason. So start training. How do you train? And start here. And remember, this podcast is really not 100% aimed at adults. It is largely aimed at showing parents how to get their children to break this cycle, this pattern of failure that we have, that we see. Okay? We see that it starts in public school. Here's the little chart. Remember, the chart is showing you that one race, the Caucasian race, in school, if you look at it, they're always achieving the highest in the schools. And African Americans are always the lowest achieving in the school. We know we don't like to say that, right? But come to our parent information session, you'll see that I search this data live in real time to show you what's happening. Now, one thing I won't say is that they're not achieving the most because they're smarter. No. But I can tell you that this group is achieving the lowest because they're not training properly. Okay? Because generation after generation, a parent have the child. Okay? Remember, parents start to chase their purpose when they're 45 and 50 years old. But then they have school kids at home that they can't tend to. That's what's happening here. Not only can they not tend to them, because listen, who can work with their own kids? You try to work with your own kids and they're like, they throw tantrums, right? So I'm not saying sit there and work with them, but what I'm saying is this class tend to invest in their children's education. Money. They invest in academic enrichment. Now remember, I'm not just a person that's locked in a studio talking to you. I'm a person that engages all day long, every single day with this information, with this data, with real people. I see that when I approach an African American parent, first thing they tell me is that they don't have the money to invest in their children, even though it's almost free. But they have the money to send their children. See, as summer approach, they have that money to send their children to a camp where the kid plays all day long. How are they going to succeed if you know they have a foundation, an academic foundation that looks like this, full of gaps, and you can't even squeeze out 1 week to dedicate to an education enrichment program? That's the source of the problem. That's the real source of the problem, not the teacher. Because the teacher do what the teacher is supposed to do. And you might think I'm defending teachers. No. What I'm saying is, what, you're going to allow somebody to grow up and fail? And all you can say is, they would have succeeded if it wasn't for the teachers. They could have succeeded if it wasn't for the people up there in Congress. If it wasn't for the politician and all the politics that's in education, my child would have succeeded. That's not good enough. That's unethical when you have something that you can do about it. All right. So you want them to succeed, stop complaining, and start training. How do you train? Through the academic success plan for kids. It's a supplemental education that fixes this problem. Come on, parents. You love your children. And if you ignore this, then I say, how do we call that love? How do we call it love when we know where this is going to get them? It's going to get them to repeat the cycle of being in the bottom of our economic system. In society, they're going to be the one that's always holding their hands out for the handouts. We know that. So why do we do it? Why do we say we love our children and then we allow them to repeat the pattern? It's that easy. So we also have a stronger foundation. We have Saturday enrichments programs to get your child to fix what's wrong, to help align them so that they can succeed. You can't just say you want them to succeed, but you're taking no action to help them to succeed. Sending them to a camp where they play all summer long, that's wrong. Parents, that's wrong. Okay, so yeah, it might cost you some money, but then at least at the end you would have broken that cycle in your particular family line. You can't do it for every single family line, but you can break that system and that pattern and that cycle of economic disparity. You could break it in your family line. And if enough families do that, then you would see a reverse in this data over there. You would see that change. Well, I'm telling you, I want you to look it up in your district schools, whatever school your child go to. I want you to search the achievement data and look at the bars, and you're going to see, okay? And I love to challenge people to prove me wrong, okay? We have to start investing. You really want them to succeed, you got to start investing. All right, so you can close up the gaps. I'm almost done. So you got to also manage yourself. And I'm going to tell you, I may have to go ahead and continue in another video because this one gets pretty long if I go into the next section, but I will. Anyways, all right. So you're going to have to start training, and you're going to have to learn how to manage yourself. Okay. Because education alone is not going to help you to thrive in life. Education alone is not enough. Yes, Dr. Small is telling you education alone is insufficient to align you with your best version, with your best self, with that fulfilling life. Because I'm going to tell you, the reason why when we talked about the CEOs going home and maybe they're, realizing, oh my God, my other self is I'm still not complete. All right. That's because of the other component that's extremely necessary and probably even more important than education: mindset. Remember, we talked about the heart, the mouth, and the brain, right? Even when a child is very, very young, even in the very earliest part of childhood, you see, you have a lot of kids that graduate top 5 of their class, top 5, and they still don't align with their purpose, right? Because education alone will only get you that fake success where you're rich and you have everything a person could need, but you're still feeling incomplete. That's because of mindset. You got to have yourself under control. I call it managing yourself. And you have 2 versions that I'm going to get into and try to speed up here. You have 2 versions. Everybody have 2 versions of themselves. Okay. So everyone's a bit bipolar, right? And because you have a part of you, and I know you see it and feel it, a part of you that's always ready to go and to do, and you want to achieve greatness. A part of you that always feels like there's a motivation cap on your head. It's go, 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 go. And then you have the other side that's like, will you just relax? Will you just chill? I'm like, why are you trying to do the most? All right. And so we are sometimes divided, if we'll be honest. I know psychologists are listening, and maybe hopefully you'll just chime in and then give me the proper terms to use, right? Instead of just criticizing. So we have the 2 versions of ourselves. Okay. And I remember Sigmund Freud, when he talked about it, we learned that in school. You have the ideal self, you have the actual self. And I think there were 3 versions, right? And it's true. So the ideal self is the one that's always motivated. I call it disciplined self. And then you have the other side again, that lethargic self. All right. And that's the self that seems to win every time. All right. So let's go in a little closer and let's get I made them bigger. So you have the lethargic side, And the lethargic side is the side that's like always out there. That's always the lethargic side. If you don't do something extra, this is the side that's always there. Okay? This side, this side is the side that is always present. It's always, when you wake up in the morning, this is the side that comes out. That's because of entropy, the whole entropy concept, okay, which we'll dig into. I think we'll do a part 2 of this video. So this is the side that's always out there. It's the lethargic side, and it's the stronger side, okay? It's stronger by nature. And when I say by nature, again, we're referring back to the entropy system, okay, or the concept. It's a side that's in control. It's a side that's in control. And I say here that it's a slave to entropy. It's a slave to entropy, okay? It's always out there. When you wake up in the morning, like, oh, you want to slap the snooze button because it takes energy. Remember, entropy, let me just talk about that a little bit. Remember, entropy is the natural disorder in a system, the natural disorder in a system, and we are a system. The heart, mouth, brain creates a system. I think we talked about it in the 8th video. We're a system. We need all of ourselves to be in unison in order for us to function properly. When the heart or the brain, when any part of us is not aligned, it causes a disruption in the system. So yes, we have, that's what entropy is a natural disorder in a system that results in uncertainty and just feeling incomplete. So that's the side that likes to be on all the time, and it's a slave to entropy. This is the side that will align us with failure, because it's always going to choose what's easier to do. It's always going to choose what comes naturally. That's the side. And remember, it's stronger. It's stronger and it's more powerful because it is aligned with entropy. Entropy, which is the natural disorder in a system. I'm trying to remember the rest. It's the measure of disorder. That's what I was trying to remember. Entropy, the measure of disorder in a system, the measure of randomness. And that's how we like to operate. Just whatever comes, we just walk in, random stuff. Okay. Whatever we feel like doing, we just jump on it. That's our entropy. Okay. This side is what most children, this is what gets us this look, this general education look where you have a lot of gaps, because this is the side that's not going to come home and study. This is the side that's going to come home and watch TV and binge watch TV. It's not going to develop the skills that were introduced. All right. So I will do a part 2, like I said. So first, let me talk about the discipline side, this side. This is the other side of us, the discipline side. And this side is subject to our lethargic side, because this side is not aligned with entropy. This is the side that tries to stand up to entropy. It tries to challenge entropy. What I mean is, when entropy says the alarm's going off, just press the snooze button. There's nothing to think about. Why are you even thinking about that? Press the snooze button. That's what's going to happen because this side is super powerful. This side is not as powerful. This side, you have to train this side. It has to be trained, and not just once a year. You have to summon this side. This side has to be summoned. This side shows up naturally. This is the natural persons that we are. And if you're a person that's in leadership, I know you're connecting with what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying is true. I know you know it. Because the only reason why you're able to get up at 3 a.m, it's not, hope I had the right side out. It's not because of this side why you were able to get up at 3 every morning and drive an hour to get to your job. This is not the side that tells you to study for an upcoming test. This is not the side that does anything to help you to succeed. It doesn't. This is the side. And this side must be summoned. This side, unfortunately, is a slave to the lethargic side. It is a slave to it. And the only way to get this side out, you have to bargain. Come on. Like they would say in a church, come on, somebody. You have to bargain with this side. Please, please, let me out. And the majority of the time, child, please, you all right? Just relax. How I know that? What evidence do I have? 98%. 98% of people never align with their greatness because this side is so powerful and they don't know how to manage this character right here. I'm going to wrap it up and do a part 2, but I want to summarize first. What I said is this: we have 2 sides to us. All right. We have the lethargic side, and we have a side that's disciplined. Right? This is the side that if you keep this side out, you will align with your purpose if you're able to keep it out. Now, what gets them out? Motivation every time, man. Motivation. I'm going to make it happen today. This guy comes out, but because of entropy and the natural tendency for disorder and randomness, child, when you almost like when you get coffee in your system, what it does, it kind of speed up your blood pressure, your blood flow, and you have more blood that's pumping through your blood, and then you just feel nice and high. But when that coffee wears off, it just drops you like a bad habit. And guess who's back? So this side is in control most of the time, like all the time. People that you see that succeed is because they learned how to keep this side out. Okay? They wake up every day like this. They still wake up. Nobody wakes up every day like this. Every day they have to bargain and manage. And there's tactics and strategies that they use to get this guy to lay down and nap while they operate. Okay, so in the next section, the next video, part 2, we're going to talk about how they do that. And everything that I'm saying is how you're going to get your child to succeed in the real world and in school right now and in the real world. Okay, so that should be good. Remember, discipline is a slave to the lethargic side, and the lethargic side is a slave to the entropy, natural disorder and tendency. All right. I think before I go, I have to tell you what that looks like. Entropy is like when leaves will fall to the ground off a tree and then makes the ground look messy, right? That's entropy. That's just the natural, that's effortless for the leaves to fall off. It's not like the tree have to go through a whole thing of, no, it just falls off during the fall especially. And it makes the ground look messy, right? If you don't ever clean your furniture, how does it look? It gets dusty, okay? Does it take effort and energy for the dust to fall onto your furniture? No, it was clean last Thursday. It was clean. And now today it looks like you've never ever clean. You could write on your car when your car is dirty and dusty. Remember how sometimes people say, "Clean, please clean me." It has so much dust that you can literally just write a note on it. Hi, honey, run into the store because your car is so dirty. And so that's natural disorder. Now, in order to return that beautiful furniture or your car to looking clean, it takes energy, right? So no energy required, energy required. Okay, so that's the whole entropy concept explained. It's just the natural tendency of things to fall apart. If you drop a glass, it shatters, right? If you want to put it back together, and of course it depends on how much it shattered, you know. Let's say it was like a vase that just broke into 6 pieces. Okay, those pieces are never gonna just naturally come back together. You have to physically apply energy to bring anything that falls apart. So naturally, everything falls apart. That's a natural tendency of the sort of the natural concept behind entropy, and that's what affects us as well. Okay, so do you want to succeed? Follow me to part 2. All right, remember, in the meantime, like, subscribe, share this channel and this information, because what we're doing, we've had enough of failure, and we're about to turn this around. We're going to turn this data around, and if you let me help you, I guarantee you will see the change. You'll see the difference. All right, we don't just want to complain, we want to train. All right, thank you. I'm Dr. Small, your executive director of A Stronger Foundation, as well as your acting academic architect, PDO. PDO means planner, designer, and overseer of A Stronger Foundation. Listen, can I expect to see you in part 2? Hope so. Until then, get this side out. There.